And I'm wondering what the United States is going to do more specifically to set up a permanent infrastructure. And relatedly, is the United States willing to make a specific allocation for Ukrainian refugees? And for President Duda, I wanted to know if you think, and if you asked the United States to specifically accept more refugees.
Okay. A friend in need is a friend indeed.
I can first.
Chad Robichaux, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, first and foremost, what are your thoughts on Vice President Kamala Harris's response and her reaction to being asked about how the U.S. is helping Ukrainian refugees?
Yeah, I mean, this is like, typical Washington, D.C. elitist that is so detached from the people, and particularly in this case, from people who are in the most hopeless situation you can imagine. This, you have two first world sovereign nations fighting each other in a conventional war where people's homes are being attacked, civilian populations in major metropolitan cities are being attacked. Weeks ago, they were dropping their kids off at daycare and going to their jobs and going to the grocery store and having normal life, playing in the park, just like anybody listening to the show that lives in a first world nation experiences. And then a major nation like Russia invades them with military force, and the country's turned upside down overnight. They're fleeing, and most of these women that are fleeing to the border are alone. Their husbands or fathers are out fighting because any male between 18 and 60 years old has to stay and fight. So now they're forced to evacuate on their own rapidly with whatever they can pack in a backpack, make their way for days across the country, and likely run out of gas because there's no fuel. There probably won't be fuel left in the country in days from now. And if they can make it through a line, if they don't run out of fuel, and if they do, by the way, it gets down to like 10, 15 degrees at night, so they could freeze to death. If they make it to the border, by the time they make it to the border, these women and children are coming across. I was standing on the border checkpoint and watching, and these poor women look like hollow. You can see their faces, like they're like so scared and so broken, and they're getting to the border, and the only thing in their mind probably was like, get my kids to safely, get myself to safety, get to the border. And then they get to the border and they're like, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. I have no cell phone because they don't have any power. I have no contacts. I'm at a border of a country. And most of us, even if you live in America, right, you make it to the border of Canada, where would you go? It's rural. What would you do? That's where they're at. They don't know what to do, where to go. And so to take people in that situation and ask, what is the United States going to do about it, and laugh at that, it just shows how disconnected, the elitists in Washington, D.C. are from the situation. I was thankful to see, Vice President Pence out at the border yesterday. Mm-hmm. But for our current sitting vice president, and by the way, where's our president in this? I don't know why he sent her, but to laugh at this, it's not a joking matter.
You're on the front lines helping people. Are you in Ukraine right now, or where are you? If you're able to share that information, where are you currently located?
No, I'm currently in the border region, on the border of Ukraine in a neighboring nation. Tomorrow I'll be back in Ukraine, and one of the reasons we're here, and I'm here with Save Our Allies. We had a guy on the ground before the war started because we knew this was going to happen, doing all the forward preparatory work that we knew if we had to do evacuation. So he was actually there during the invasion. Brought another team member in. They started evacuating people, and then as we were evacuating people during the initial phases of the invasion, we recognized the big need is that we have to have good communications infrastructure because, once all the communications goes down, electrical, cellular, all that stuff goes down, no one's going to be able to communicate with anyone to rescue them. So that was the priority need. And we're working at Save Our Allies to do a couple of things. One, build good communication infrastructure and put that in place so we can communicate with people on the ground, no matter what happens, for a sustainable ability to be able to rescue people long term. And then two, be able to push needed medical supplies forward because these hospitals are out of everything: bandages, Band-Aids, medicine, insulin, like life-saving medications like insulin or blood pressure medicine, or people that are, need medicines for whatever ailment they have. all that's gone, and people are trapped in cities. So we have to be able to give those medical supplies to them, and then yeah, these like insulin and these medical supplies or life-saving medicines that people rely on are gone. They're depleted. I mean, no band-aids, no bandages, no medicine like that, and somebody needs to go bring it forward. So we're going to be working, bringing that forward to where it's needed most, and then be able to move people out of those dangerous areas, where especially wounded people, to a better area. When we say in Afghanistan, when we rescued the 17,000 people in Afghanistan, it was evacuate people from Afghanistan. In this case, it may not always be evacuate people from Ukraine. It may be to take them from a bad place to a better place, a place where they could be safe from the Russian military, a place that could be safe to get medical attention. And so sometimes it's a movement of people. And so bringing that mobility, that to be able to have an ambulatory mobility mechanism in place to be able to help in that way, that's one of the other things that we'll be doing.
And just logistically speaking, you were talking about gas earlier and how the country might run out of gas, and you're talking about just now with building a strong communication infrastructure to be able to actually talk to people who are in need of being rescued or being evacuated, or like you said, being moved to a safer place. What has been, I guess, logistically speaking, the biggest challenge? Have you come in contact with any Russian military? Have you, gone into any situations where you weren't exactly sure how it would end?
Yeah. So I'll say, so one of the things that I think is important to know about like our team particularly is we have some of the best, like most qualified special operations veterans in the world on our team, not just guys that served in the military special operations, deployed in combat, but also served in government agencies and worked outside the government with very specific skills and precision rescue of personnel. So we have a very skilled team for this exact scenario. We know how to function in this environment and to help people. And so when we're doing these operations, there's a lot of planning that goes into it because we understand the dynamics of the operation. This is very complex and different. This isn't Afghanistan, Iraq, third world nations. This is first world nation, a first world enemy with lots of technology. And so we're, it's important to know that we're not going there to fight. We have already done that. The people on our team are pretty mature professionals that have done that and has it out their system. We're going there to provide medical help and to evacuate people. But in doing that requires a lot of planning, a lot of logistics. One, to be effective and efficient, successful, but two, to keep our team safe. We have two guys that, unfortunately you won't be able to interview them because of the nature of their work outside of this. But we were doing a rescue, and they drove literally like 2 minutes away from a tank being blown up, a Ukrainian tank up. And as the smoke was still coming off, the flames were still coming off the tank, bodies were hanging out. They drove past the tank, 2 civilian vehicles that got hit by it as well, and bodies everywhere. And as they drove past that, they got engaged with small arms fire and had to move out because they thought they'd take a different route. And as they taken a different route, they thought for a second, okay, now we're out of all the trouble. Then 2 rockets fired out of the woods. So they're driving through this, moving into these dangerous areas to go help people. And, so even with all the training experience we have, it's a war zone. It's scary and it's dangerous. But man, the same things that I said right before I left to go to Afghanistan and did rescues there. If this was my family, I hope someone would be coming to get us, coming to help. And that's kind of the position that I think everyone on our team looks at. We all have a tremendous amount of combat experience, special operations experience, the skills to do this. We're also all pretty strong people of faith and believe that, God's burdened our hearts to go help these people. And that's what we're going to do.
How many people do you think, just an estimation, have you helped so far in terms of getting them medical supplies or evacuating them or moving them? We're about 16 days into the war at this point.
Yeah, because of the nature of what we're doing, I don't want to give an exact number of how many we've already rescued or even how many we plan to, because but I can tell you that the overall effort with a lot of organizations, they're moving people out in the hundreds or thousands. People, for the most part, still have the means in most cities to self-evacuate. And so most of the rescues that we've done have been pretty precision rescues of specific people. However, with putting in the infrastructure in place, we're going to be moving in more larger groups of people. But a lot of people, when you talk about evacuating, are not having to be evacuated out of the country. A lot of Ukrainians aren't even wanting to move out of the country. They're just wanting to move west to where it's safer. And so a lot of we were facilitating a lot of just movements like that. And then, some people are moving across the border because they might be in greater need. But every situation is different. It's a very complex and different environment, much different than we did in Afghanistan. But again, this is the same team that we took in Afghanistan, and we took the same approach. And because of the approach we took, because of the strong planning and the way we went about it, we were able to save 17,000 people from Afghanistan instead of 100 or 200. And I'm thankful for every organization that got 20, 30, 40 people out. But we got those big groups out because of the experience we have in our team and the ability to plan this out ahead. And so that's still what we're doing right now. And but like I said, in the coming days, we're going to be able to have a strong execution of our plan and be able to make a really big impact. In addition to working with other NGOs like Samaritan's Purse, who put the static hospital in place. They have the static hospital. They have to have the ability to move people to that hospital, and we partner with them to do that.
Obviously, as you talked about, a lot goes into these missions planning wise. You need medical supplies. I'm sure you need donations. So how can our audience watching this interview, if they want to help in any way, if they know somebody who's in Ukraine looking to evacuate or needs help, how can they get that help or help?
Yeah, if someone needs help, they could go to saveourallies.org, and there's a place for evacuation support. That's right on the website. They just select Ukraine or Afghanistan. We haven't forgot you in Afghanistan. So just select those options and fill out the form, and it'll go to a team, and they'll look at it, and someone will get back to you or get you in the system. We do need financial support. It is very, very expensive to do these operations. I think I spent about, in the last 2 days, probably about $600,000. Just I'm as fast as I'm able to get money in. That's how fast I'm spending money. And it's honestly so moving to see people that are just stepping up and saying, "Hey, I want to help." Like, I don't know these people. I've never been to Ukraine before. I've never left the United States. Like, I don't have any idea who I'm helping, but I want to help. And I had a guy yesterday, he paid for a van, and he called to make sure the money went through. And I'm like, "Hey, you just bought a van. Like, let me show you a picture of it." And he's like, "Oh man." And that's really cool to see a van that I just bought to do this operation. In fact, I'm sitting in that van right now.
Wow.
That was just one person that said, "I want to help. What can I do?" You could buy a van, and he bought a van. And other people were like, could donate $20, and so it really has been moving. And that's kind of one of the pieces of joy that I've had about this is seeing people step up to help people that they don't even know and probably never will meet, just to do the right thing. And I can tell you that border that I was on was so sad to be on that border and see people coming across the way they were coming across. But in every situation I've been in around the world where I've seen tragic things, if you look, you always see like something real positive too. And on that border, while people were coming off and there was that tragic look in their face, there was also like people from everywhere around the world there to welcome the Ukrainian people and support them. There was these two men from India that came there, and they had a little truck set up, and they were making cauliflower curry and just giving out hot bowls. Can you imagine walking across in 10-degree, 15-degree weather, dragging your suitcase with your kids across the country to get out, and then you get across and somebody's sitting there with a hot bowl of Indian curry. I guess a way to be welcomed, and in piles of jackets and clothes, and people just there welcoming them. People driving their cars with no passengers in it because they want to have every empty seat that they could put somebody in and drive them to safety. And then there was this one guy, I got to share this because it was just so moving, and it made me actually get emotional and tear up. Yeah, this guy, it like made me tear up. This guy came all the way from Germany through Poland to the border, to the Ukrainian border, and he had drug a grand piano behind him. I put it on my Instagram if you want to see it. And he put the piano right on the border, and he's playing Imagine. It was when I walked up, he's playing Imagine. He's playing all these songs, and he's like really great pianist. And he's sitting, it's cold outside. He just sit out there in the cold 24/7, sleeping. When he's sleeping, he's going to sleep in his car to play a piano. And I'm like, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" And he's like, "These people heard like bombs and gunshots, and now I want them to come hear something beautiful.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that was so cool, man, that he did that.
Yeah, I have
And,
chills.
yeah.
That is like, wow, what a story, what a mindset to be in too, to, you know, travel all the way from Germany and say, you know, these people have come from, you know, the sound of guns and bombs and gunshots, and now to hear a beautiful piano playing. That is truly amazing. Chad, thank you so much for sharing that with me and sharing some insight into what it looks like on the ground there. I really appreciate it, and really appreciate everything you're doing and continue to do to help people around the world. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Samantha.